Dave Hodges with us. Before you ask a question, please raise your hand, and then we have the microphone. They'll be handed to you for clarity and for filming purposes. Okay, so start from the floor. Any questions from the floor?
Tony Scott, Rugby Magazine. Todd, how difficult has a 4-day turnaround been for your side to recover and refocus?
Yeah, it hasn't been ideal, that's for sure. Just in terms of, first getting the body right after a physical game that we had on Sunday, and then also preparing for your next game. We know it's going to be a tough game against Russia, so you have to play the game, recover as much as you can that night. Next session, get the body right. You can't really get on the field, and then getting the next jobs done. So it's hard to tick all the boxes after you put it all on the field.
Anything special that you guys have pulled out of the American medical hat to help you bounce back more quickly?
I don't know about anything magical or anything like that, but ice baths and stretching and pool sessions and a couple light field sessions. So nothing magical.
Nothing mystical.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Question for both Dave and Todd. Looking at the scrum, Dave, are there any fixes that could be put in to perhaps solidify the scrum a little bit more for this coming game? And Todd, obviously, when the scrum is under pressure, back row has a lot of work to do. And what have you guys been working on, specifically in the back row?
Yeah, I think there certainly are some. There's some fixes that we've been talking about. We've put into place in the last 2 days. So we think we'll be improved in that area. And that was one of our big goals for this game.
Yeah, as a back row, we just have to keep on our props and be part of that second row and get the ball first before we do other jobs. We know we're in for another battle, so we're just looking forward to it.
Hi, Dave. The introduction of Chris Wells. How does he fit into your game plan for tomorrow against Russia?
I'd say Chris brings a steadying force to our back line. A very experienced player and a smart player. So he really steadies the guys back there, and he'll from that 15 spot he can control the deep three as well, and he brings as long as with the knowledge is he brings a good foot to the game as well. So we can either counterattack or put the foot to the ball and play in different places. So he gives us a lot of options in that regard.
Very changeable weather here. What role will the weather have in tomorrow's game, especially since it's so unpredictable? That's what both.
Well, I think the biggest thing is in terms of the set piece and probably at the line of touch, whether if it's wet, that's not really a problem. Our guys, from our point of view, we just need to focus more on catching the ball first. But if it's a driving wind, then we have to adjust some of the throwing options, obviously. And then, in terms of once the set piece is done, we have, everyone has to deal with it down here. I think it rains quite a bit, so I don't think it's any different for the opposition. But if it's really blustering, it's going to change our game plan a little bit, and we have some fixes in place to adjust to those conditions.
Todd, did you play that last test against Russia?
Yeah, I did.
How did you find, what sort of approach did they bring compared to, say, an island or a Tier 1 nation?
Physical side, it was tied at 8.5, and we came out. They have some speed on the wings. Got a couple guys with good boots. The pack is obviously big and mean and physical. So they're an improving side, and we know that, and it's going to be a big challenge, and can't take them lightly, and should be a handful for us.
Are they a side you enjoy playing against?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we match well against them, and with being a tier two nation as ourselves, we look for different rivals, and Canada's won, Georgia's won, and the last couple of years, Russia's come up, and they've been a very good rival of us, and it's a tough game, and looking forward to it, putting it on the world stage.
Todd, back to scrummaging for a second. There was a media website quote from you saying it seemed like Ireland got some early hits on you, or some quick hits on you, as the scrums were setting and ready to fire. Was that the case, and if so, what can you do about it?
Easy enough to be fast round engagement, and just time out the ref, and get the initial hit on. And the Ireland did get that on us, and it's hard to recover, especially with a big pack that they had. But it's going to be like that through the whole tournament. Whoever has that first engagement hit is definitely going to have the advantage.
Okay.
Todd, did you find the referee's interpretation the other night of the tackle ball area difficult to understand?
A couple times it seemed a bit harsh, but I mean, watching all the games and the build-up and knowing how they're going to be reffing it, I mean, it's out there, and it's a tackle contest, and that's what you want, and sometimes on a defensive play, the offense gets more of an advantage. So you just have to play with the refs calling.
Has it been an area of focus in the two training rounds you've had since Sunday?
It hasn't been particularly like one of the big things that we're setting up. We want to put pressure on the offense, and more about a defensive structure than individual at the breakdowns.
Dave, in the last game you played against Russia, they made, as Todd talked about the speed on the wings, they made a lot of long runs. I think they scored a try off one of them, but they came close several times. Is there something that can be done to nip that in the bud rather than rely on your cover defense?
Well, I think the last time we played them, our defense, we certainly played better defense against Ireland than we played against Russia the first time, and we were probably too soft on them, and we got caught short. We weren't spread enough in our resourcing of our defense. So we've certainly it's been a focus of ours since that game. So yes, I think while you're right, we did get caught out wide a few times, but we've realized it, and we've been training for that since this point, or since that point.
Todd, after the first round of matches, there was a lot made of the gap closing between the Tier 2 and Tier 1 countries. That being said, none of the Tier 2 countries won. What is it going to take for that gap to go from narrow to equal?
I mean, it seems like it's closing in the first round with the scores and everything. But in reality, you have to step back and look at the unions and how professional the sport is in their country. So, I mean, take, for instance, U.S., we don't have a professional league, and the money is very, very minimal compared to what it is in Ireland and New Zealand and Australia and South Africa. So, I mean, it's going to be always tough, and, on paper, and when you think about it, it seems like the gap's never going to really close completely. But you can do what Argentina's done is, change it, have a kicking thing, and have all your guys professional overseas and playing at the top leagues in the other countries. And that seems to be the only way you can be able to compete with the Tier 1 big dogs.
Because it's like a shop window almost to get the guys that are still based in the US into European and maybe even Sansa professional teams?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, it'd be great if we can set up our own league, and ideally, it'd be great if if there's an expansion with a European a professional league or a Southern Hemisphere professional league have academies and have a professional team based in the States and where people have goals to play for and aspire to and be able to compete at that level. Because I mean, it's a huge gap playing Test rugby to club rugby in America, and it's a smaller gap playing Test rugby and Super 15, for instance.
Just off the set pieces off the rucks, you guys are getting caught really deep behind the advantage line against Ireland. Is that something you guys have maybe wanted to improve against Russia tomorrow?
I mean, after that first phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. There certainly were some times we did soak up some defensive phases, and we've noted that, and we've tried to improve those. But this, I don't want to take anything away from Ireland's attack, and certainly they're a good outfit, and so they did cause us some problems. But I think the guys, in that sense, the endeavor was really great that day, and there's certainly some execution that we can improve upon in that area. So while we were happy with the defensive effort, we still want to improve it, and that certainly was one of them.
Kyle from US Rugby NZ. Todd, back to the exposure. We had a fan tweet into us on our page. Do you think that rugby will gain more exposure back home after this World Cup specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, rugby's growing hugely in numbers across the states, and with a big push with Universal Sports and NBC airing the games and showing the games on replay is just going to build a fan base. And I've gotten reached out by many people and many new fans saying that they're USA Rugby fans now or old times, and it's great to see finally it's on major TV productions such as NBC. It's awesome. So I mean, a lot of my old friends that I grew up with, they know I play rugby, but they've never seen a game, and now they're able to watch me play on TV on the Rugby World Cup stage, and they're very happy, and it's great as a player, finally reaching out to the American people and public.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kirsty Johnson from Fairfax Media. Again, kind of about the exposure, there's been a bit of media interest in the whole Cold War angle. I was wondering what you guys think about that, and if you maybe had a better nickname we could use for it.
You want to take that one? I'm probably older, so Todd might not remember much about that. I think there certainly is a rivalry there, and one of the bigger ones was that gold medal ice hockey game, or it wasn't a gold medal game, but it ended up helping us get the gold medal. And I think going back through the 80s and in the 90s, or from around the 80s, probably more. That was when my formative years in sport was always, anytime we played Russia, it was a big rivalry. So, while I think some of that is gone because of the where we are now politically, and I think there's still a little bit there. There's still some. It's not as intense as it used to be, but there's certainly that. There's still a power in the world, and I think our players realize that. So, but it's probably more so from the. I think they think more on the rugby side and where we are as a Tier 2 nation, and where they have been targeting us for. They quite often said that this is a game they're going to target. So we're under no illusions that they're going to come after us tomorrow night. And so I think it's more about the rugby side versus the Cold War side. Our guys are pretty young, and it's a bit of something they've read in school but didn't really experience.
How about the eagle versus the bear? David, you were on the last American team to win a game in the World Cup, and Todd, you were on that trip, and it was against a Japan team that you'd beaten by 40-odd points earlier in the year, and then it was much closer back and forth in the actual World Cup. So here you're fighting a team you've already beaten twice in the last 2 years. Is there any need for a message for the players to say, look, I know you've beaten them a couple of times, but this is different. This is the World Cup. This is, it's going to be even harder. And Todd, maybe you can chime in on that too.
Well, I think I've just followed up on my last statement. Is we know that this is a game that they're targeting, so it certainly will be different. And they've had a really good build-up in the sense of time together, and so I think this is a game that they think they can win, and one of the most important in their World Cup. So I think they'll be that first half will be very interesting, and probably the whole game, because they certainly didn't show any quit in the last game. So I think that they're going to come out guns blazing, and it's going to be we expect a very tough contest. We're under no illusions that it's going to be as easy or not as easy, but it's going to be an easy contest at all. We think it's going to be very difficult. And the first time we played them, I think this is a bit of a different team and more time together and different coaching staff. So it's something that we're certainly talked about as a team and we're aware of, and we have to get up to the level in terms of our intensity that we were on the night we played Ireland, and we can't have anything less, and that's our goal.
Yeah, I just wondered what the strategy was behind the changes that you've made to the front row. Some of these changes have been sort of on the cards. We're very confident in both of our hookers, and if you look over the last year and a half, we changed them out sometimes from game to game. Sometimes they go a couple games, but we think they both can throw very well, and like any player, they have different strengths and weaknesses, but we don't feel we lose much at all with one versus the other. And then in terms of Mate, who came in at the tight head, Mate Mokiola, he is a very experienced player. He's very dangerous with the ball in hand and caused Russia a lot of problems in that last test match. And he's kind of an old head in terms of scrummaging. So that's kind of the idea there. And we think this is a really good, based on the two teams and where we are right now, that this is a great time for him to come into that front row.
Todd, by my count, in the Ireland game, in the first half, the U.S. got into the attacking 22 three different times, and all three times the ball was kicked. Once was a cross kick, once was a grubber, and once I think was an accident. But were you instructed, or were you intentionally trying to get behind their defensive screen, put the ball behind their rush defense? And whether you were or you weren't, are you going to try to hang on to it a little better this time?
Hopefully you'll be able to hang on to it and not have to resort to the boot on tomorrow night. But into the Ireland game. Yeah, against Ireland, right?
Yeah.
We were put under immense pressure, and we played a few phases, and we weren't going anywhere, so we kicked them behind them. A few of them were pretty good kicks. We had them going backwards, and one was a bit contestable. So I don't want to speak on the backs, but they know what they're doing, and the forwards we're just trying to do our job.
Okay.
Last couple of questions.
Question for Dave. In the last match against Ireland, it didn't seem like the forwards were contesting the Irish lineups. I was wondering if you plan to change that game plan against Russia?
Yeah, that was a strategy we employed because we felt that they were pretty dangerous out wide. So we wanted to stay down so we weren't caught out wide. And there were a couple of times we gave them license to go after the ball. But we have both strategies in our locker now, so we can employ that or we can contest. And so it's nice to have both and as we go forward here.
Anybody else? Good guys, thank you.